I want to talk, gentlemen, about presidential power and the war on terror here at home. And Governor Romney, I'll start with you. You have said that the government should wiretap some mosques to keep tabs on Islamic extremists. Would you do this even without a judge's approval, sir?
No, of course not. We'd use the law to follow people who are teaching doctrines of terror and hate and make sure that if they're doing that in a mosque, in a school, at a playground, wherever it's being done, we know what's going on. There's no question but that we're under threat from people who want to attack our country in this global effort. And I know there's a lot of attention paid to, if you will, trying to respond to what would happen if we were attacked. And that's appropriate. We need to have first response up to the best standards. But our focus has to be on preventing an attack. And preventing attack means good intelligence work. It means that people are coming to this country terrorizing or talking about terror in such a way that it could lead to the violent death of Americans. We need to know about that, track them, follow them, and make sure that in every way we can, we know what they're doing and where they're doing it. And if it means we have to go into a mosque to wiretap or a church, then that's exactly where we're going to go, because we're going to do whatever it takes to protect the American people. And I hear from time to time people say, hey, wait a second, we have civil liberties we have to worry about. But don't forget, the most important civil liberty I expect from my government is my right to be kept alive, and that's what we're going to have to do.
Congressman Tancredo, along those lines, you have said the president should have the power to approve enhanced interrogation techniques like waterboarding in cases where conventional interrogation is not getting the job done. Sir, I want to ask you, is there a line you won't cross in this regard to keep Americans safe? Would you approve the use of torture if you felt it would prevent a terrorist attack?
Torture. I mean, we get into this debate all the time and as to what exactly is the definition of torture. And I'm telling you that we need to do, remember the question that I was originally asked that elicited the response that you mentioned was, what do we do in the response to a nuclear, or the fact that a nuclear device or some bombs have gone off in the United States? We know that we have captured people who have information that could lead us to the next one that's going to go off, and it's the big one. That was the question that I responded to. And I told you, yes, I would do certainly waterboard. I don't believe that that is, quote, torture. I would do what is necessary to protect this country. That is the ultimate responsibility of the President of the United States. All of the other things that we do, all of the other things, all of the other powers vested in him are pale in comparison to his responsibility to keep the people of this country safe, and that is ultimate. And yes, I would go to great lengths to keep this country safe.
Senator McCain, what do you think about what Congressman Tancredo just said, and more broadly, do you feel President Bush may have overreached his constitutional authority in some actions after the 9/11 attacks, sir?
I have a very dear and beloved friend whose name is General Jack Vesey, who was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under President Reagan. He served in 4 wars, and he's one of the great leaders I've ever known. I called him and I said, General Vesey, do you think we ought to ever torture anybody? General Vesey said, any information that we may gain through the use of torture can never, ever be counterbalanced by the damage it does to America's reputation. And the risk that when an American is in the hands of an enemy, that they will use the fact that we tortured people as an excuse to torture our brave men and women in the military. I'm not prepared to expose them to that. It was interesting during the debate on torture. The retired military from Colin Powell on down and others sided with me. Those who had no military experience took the other side. By the way, Governor Huckabee, thank you for your kind words. Thank you.
Mayor Giuliani, if you don't think we should close the prison camp at Guantanamo Bay, how long are you prepared to live with the international criticism it's causing, and how long do you think we should hold people there that we feel we can't gain a conviction on but are too dangerous to set free?
Well, this reminds me of the period of time in New York when judges would release criminals into the street or threaten to do it. We can't close Guantanamo because nobody will take the people there. I mean, the president is attempting to move those people to other countries, and those countries are intelligent enough to say, we don't want people as dangerous as this in our country. So what are you proposing, that we release them in New York or in Boston or in Los Angeles. So there's a reality to this that the liberal media and some of the Democratic politicians seem to try to avoid. Also, this discussion of fighting a war where we're constantly discussing when we're going to withdraw. When has a nation ever won a war when the constant discussion was, what kind of timetable are we going to set for our retreat? In order to win, you have to set an objective. The objective should be an Iraq that is going to help us in the terrorist war against us. If Iraq is a battle in the terrorist war against us, which it is, then the winning of that battle constitutes an Iraq that will help us, not an Iraq that will become a headquarters for Islamic terrorists.
Congressman Hunter, the prisoners at Gitmo right now have little to do with the war in Iraq, so let me ask you basically the question I asked Mayor Giuliani.
Yeah.
Are you prepared to hold terrorism suspects at Guantanamo Bay indefinitely if you feel that we can't convict them and they're too dangerous to set free?
Well, absolutely. And let me tell you, the proof of that is the fact that we have conducted these combatant review tribunals, and we've actually sent back to the battlefield or sent back to Afghanistan some of the people that we thought were no longer a threat. Some of those people have shown up on the battlefield bearing arms against our soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines back on the battlefield after we sent them back. If anything, we've been too liberal with the release of terrorists. And let me tell you, you got guys like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed who said that he planned the attack on 9/11. You've got Osama bin Laden's bodyguards. Those guys get taxpayer paid for prayer rugs. They have prayer 5 times a day. They've all gained weight. The last time I looked at the menu, they had honey glazed chicken and rice pilaf on Friday. That's how we treat the terrorists. They've got health care that's better than most HMOs, and they've got something else that no Democrat politician in America has. They live in a place called Guantanamo, where not one person has ever been murdered, and there's not one politician, one Democrat politician in America that can say that about one of the prisons in his home district. We got to keep Guantanamo open.